Hi guys and welcome to my channel. If you're new, my name's Ailey, thanks for watching. Today's video I'm going to talk a little bit about how you can become a beauty therapist. I am a trained beauty therapist and I'm just going to share with you a couple of ways that you can do it, a little bit about my experience and stuff like that. Let's just get started. So the reason that I became a beauty therapist was I actually was a lorry driver for 3 years. I worked for the council and I drove gritters and stuff like that, and I really did like my job, but I actually injured my back and couldn't continue to do that sort of work just because it was a lot of manual labour, a lot of heavy lifting and stuff like that, so it just wasn't going to be worth it in the long run, the damage that it would do to my back and stuff like that. So I had always been interested in makeup, I'd always done makeup, and I had always been interested in sort of beauty, but it's because of where I live, it was never something that I could really do unless I moved away, and I kind of missed that window of opportunity. I was one of these people who fell into work instead of going away to college. So I decided that I was going to go to college. I applied for college and I got put on the wait list, and then I eventually got in. So it was just a kind of stroke of luck and it all worked out in the end. There are two ways that I can think of to become a beauty therapist. There is a third way, but I'll kind of briefly touch on that after I've explained these two. You can go to college and you can do your, now this applies to Scotland only. The college part and the generalisation of it may apply to more places, but when I say things like HNC, NC and stuff like that, that is Scottish terms. So don't get confused if I say those things. So basically you can go to college and you can start with your introduction to beauty therapy, then you can move on to your NC, then you can move on to your HNC, then you can move on to your HND. Each of them is a year long and you just build your way up. Depending on your age, what your qualifications were when you left high school and stuff like that, you'll go in at different levels. Some people will go in at HNC, some people will go in at NC, some people will need to start right at the very beginning at the introduction to beauty. The other way of doing it is lots of short courses. Now this can be really, really expensive, and to be honest, some of them I don't think offer enough training. So I think that either you'll come out as a subpar therapist. Now I'm not saying that everybody who does short courses is a subpar therapist by any means, but I think that because if you don't pick up what you need to pick up in that 1, 2, 3, 4 day course, there's, you know, you can kind of get feedback afterwards, but nothing, you know, spectacular. When you're at college, you're there for a whole year, so you have a year to get to grips with everything that you're doing rather than 3-4 days. So that's just my opinion, but that is the two sort of ways you can do it. And as I said, the short course way is very expensive. I mean, just as an idea, you can pay anything from £200 to £500 to do an eyelash extension course. That's one treatment, and that costs you that much money. So if you think about it, if you wanted to do all of your courses, you're talking a good few grand anyway. So I do prefer the college route. The only thing that I would say about the college route is it's very outdated, at least in Scotland it is anyway. I think that they need to offer a little bit more variety and ask a little bit more of what is going on just now. Like, what are people interested in just now? What is like a really high in demand sort of treatment and things like that, but I'll get into that anyway. So I actually went to college. I had to drive 3 hours there and 3 hours back every day that I was in. I was in 3 days a week, and basically I went in at NC level. I didn't have to go in at the intro to beauty level, so I managed to skip that one. So I did a year at that, and basically in that year you learn how to do basic manicure, pedicure, waxing, facials, and we actually got to learn shellac nails as well through training from CND. I think that's it. You learn brow tinting and stuff like that as well, brow and lash tinting. So it's your basic, you could do that course and you could go and set up as a beauty therapist. You could get insurance and stuff like that and you could be good to go, and you know, you can add to that over time. And I did like that year. I thought that year was really good. You learned a load of stuff and you know, you could put it all into practice. Now here's where your college time differs from your short courses. We had to do core skills and anatomy and physiology. Now our anatomy and physiology in first year, I call it first year, it was actually NC, which is technically the second year, was the bones of the body, the muscles of the body, and I can't think what else. might have been a little bit in the respiratory system and the circulatory system, definitely the circulatory system. But that was, I mean, it was like medical grade, some of the things that we were learning. It was really, really interesting. Most of us were looking at each other thinking, why do we need to know this? This is stupid. But it was interesting, to say the least. So yeah, you got a crazy background like that to kind of build upon once you started learning treatments and stuff like that. So the other thing that we actually did in every single subject was learnt contraindications. We learned things like diseases to spot. We learned how to spot things that you would need to refer people to the GP for. So we did lots of different clients and case studies and things like that. So pretty much if you were going to come across anything, your lecturer was right there to be able to ask. And that's what I really liked about being at college. And obviously you could bounce off each other as well. So if you were having problems, then you could all talk to one another, and you were examined and you were watched every single day, and you were evaluated over the course of a year. So I really like that about the whole college part, and the first year was really informative, and like I say, you could probably do that year and set yourself up no problem and be quite a confident therapist. For the HNC, we moved on to doing electrical treatments like Faradic treatments, galvanic treatments, electrolysis, electrical facials and things like that. And basically it was just all about using currents and things like that. So you learned a lot about currents. We went really in depth with anatomy and physiology. Basically anything you can think of in the body we learned about. I mean, we learned how blood was pumped around the heart. You learn about how your body makes urine and gets rid of waste from the body. It was insane. It was so interesting to learn, but it was so overkill. And I think a lot of the lecturers were thinking the same, and they were trying to get it kind of like toned down a little bit, because it is really, really intense, and something like 15 exams or something like that to do. You have to do a graded unit, which basically means that you do case studies and you have to write up all the paperwork, what you were planning to do, how you're planning to do it, what you ended up doing, if you came across any problems, and then you had to evaluate it, say what you would do differently, say what worked really well, and it was like a book this thick by the time you came to the end of it. So you really went in depth with your treatments. You had to come up with a treatment plan for your client, and you had to do stuff on the day, and you had to make sure that you were doing stuff that went with what they were looking for, that didn't have any contraindications for them and stuff like that. It's kind of complicated to kind of go into, but if you've done it, you'll know. It was the closest to a salon environment you were going to get in college. And then of course you had more and more and more clients, and when we learned how to do waxing, and don't mind my chest, I'm seeing that it's actually come up all red. I actually scratched it a wee while ago and it just won't go away. Anyway, yeah, for waxing, it took me a good 6 months to get decent at waxing, to make sure that I was doing everything properly, to make sure that I was doing it quickly enough, to make sure that I was doing my consultations and stuff like that. So I don't see that I could have done a 3-day course or a 2-day course on that and been any good at it, or been in a position where I could offer it to somebody, even like, identifying varicose veins and stuff like that. So that's another reason why I like the college part of it a wee bit more. So I've actually done myself some short courses, and this is where I think that they become very beneficial. If you have the whole background of knowledge to start off with, then you can expand. So I've done eyelash extensions, I have done gel nails, which we actually did as part of our HNC. I've done fake bake spray tanning, and I'm actually going to do an acrylic course with CND. So I already have all the basic background stuff. All I really have to do is go and learn how to physically do the stuff. And it's really handy as well, because it gets you through the course really quickly, because once you've done all of, the quizzes and stuff like that on your contraindications and stuff like that, you just have to go on with it and do your practical side of it. So yeah, that's where I think that it is really good to do even 1 year at college, learn all of your background stuff, give yourself time to actually take it in and learn it, and then you can expand, with different brands. Because if you learn nails in college, you're not going to be able to come out and just purchase from any brand. Some brands want you to work and train with them, like CND, you have to go and do a course to do shellac, you have to go and do a course to do their gel nails. You can't just have done it in college and then expect to go and do it with them. Conversion courses are cheaper, which is what I'm doing with the acrylic. so you can kind of get around the cost that way a little bit. The other way to do it would be to do an apprenticeship. Now, I don't know if this applies anywhere else in the UK, but you can go and do an apprenticeship, and basically what it means is you'll get hired into a salon and you'll do grunt work. Essentially, you know, you'll set up your beauty therapist station for them, you'll tidy up for them, you'll sanitize for them, you'll wipe down benches, but you'll see whoever it is that's taking you on working, and they will teach you on the job, and then you'll go to college, do some college time, and then come back and do some more work time. That's another option if you really want to work, because you will get paid for that. It's not an awful lot, but sometimes your employer can top up your wages and stuff. A lot of people always said, oh well, yeah, that's easy, just do that. It's not easy. It's really, really difficult. At the end of the day, you're performing treatments on somebody, and I think that too many salons are popping up that are really doing the industry an injustice, and they're not qualified, and the problem is that it's not regulated enough in Scotland. And the other thing is it's going to give everybody a bad name, which I think is such a shame, because I've firsthand, and a lot of people I know have gone through all of this at college, and you spend thousands of pounds, you spend all of your time. I mean, when I used to go to college, I used to have to leave my house at 6 o'clock in the morning to get up to college, and then if we were in college until 5 o'clock that day, I wouldn't get home until 8 o'clock that night. So it was 6 in the morning until 8 o'clock at night, and then if it was 2 days back to back, I would have to obviously do that. But the good thing was it was 3 days a week, and I didn't mind doing it because I enjoyed it, and it was something that I really did want to do, but it is by no means easy. And anytime you see somebody who does something like that for a living, it takes years to get your qualifications. It takes years to get the experience and the practice necessary to do things well. So yeah, I think that is pretty much it. Hopefully I've answered everything that I wanted to, and I've addressed everything that I wanted to. If you have any questions or comments or anything like that, or if you think I've missed anything, leave it in the comment section below. Give this video a big thumbs up for me and subscribe to my channel. I do post videos every Monday, Wednesday and Friday from now on, so yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video and that you found it helpful, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.